Good evening, and welcome to my stream. I am Max Porter. I am also SuperCommoner. I happen to be in my day job. I am a lead board game designer at City State Entertainment, and also video game writer there. And in my spare time, I sometimes design and play role-playing campaigns, and that is what I am doing tonight, and every night this week. So, what am I up to tonight? Tonight, I am going to be doing a relatively short stream, but I am going to kick this off by working on some rumors, or a rumor. I use rumors in our Blades in the Dark campaign to give the players a vehicle for scores. One of, I won't call it an issue, but one of the challenges with Blades in the Dark is that it's so player-directed that the players often don't know what they can do and what they want to do. So, in order to get them going on doing stuff, I give them in our little Discord, our own little Discord channel, a selection of rumors out around and about the city of Duskville. These rumors are usually an invitation to a score. Sometimes I use them to add a bit of verisimilitude to the world, in that adding things like news stories or bits of background information that the players might use. Here are the rumors that the players have available to them so far. I have added numbers to these rumors to make it easier for them to talk about, as I was noticing that when they were talking about the rumors, they were often trying to describe each one, and oh, wait, which one? The one that is about this, that, the other thing. So I gave them numbers, and that has been extremely helpful in helping the players look up which rumor the other one is talking about and decide what score, what criminal activity they're going to take on next. So I thought tonight I might create a rumor. And if any viewers want to jump in chat and offer up their thoughts, I will certainly be much obliged. So how do I go about making a rumor for the Blades in the Dark campaign? Well, first of all, I put on a little music to get in the mood. That's already playing. Now, I'm going to go to... Let's see here. I'm going to go to Duskville News, at Duskville News, which is a Twitter bot that generates stories and rumors in Duskville. Of course, I'm going to alter these quite a bit for my particular game. I'm just going to double check that I can hear myself. You're going to get some echo. These quite a bit for my particular... Yes, it's sounding good. Alright. So let's see. We have Ashlyn Bowman and a group of renegade railjacks. So right now I'm just looking at these for inspiration. I'm going to then let the players choose whatever they want to do. And occasionally the players will come up with their own scores. But it's quite a lot of pressure, I feel. Especially not just on the GM, but on the players. On both of us to come up with things that make sense, that are good score ideas. The rumors have worked out a lot better. than just kind of playing it straight, as it were, and letting the players come up with everything. So, rumors, inspiration. Let's see. Ashlyn Bowman and a group of renegade railjacks have a cunning plan to take Dunslow using a weak vampire tech Rosie Garsman. I already have one rumor similar to that. Probably also inspired by this very bot. I have a fear that I'm going to run out of them. Let's see here. Yes, a group of refugees are planning to take Dunslow, so that's awfully similar. I don't think there's any meat on the bone there for me. Let's see the next one. Old North Port hides the remains of Adric the Hunter and their secret cache of information. That's interesting, because we haven't really, despite this being a ghost punk setting, despite the players having encountered a number of ghosts, we haven't really had any remains of anyone. I'm going to keep that in mind. Erlyn Walland, Volette Rowan, and Arden Cleland have gone missing in the last 10 days. All three were last seen arguing with Inspector Sethla Booker. That's not necessarily a rumor that's going to... This would certainly... Old Northport hides remains of Adric the Hunter and the secret cache information. That will interest the party, and it would probably change, since the current score they're doing is about a secret cache of information. I would probably have to change the reward, but something about going to Old Northport and finding the remains of a hunter is pretty interesting. I don't think the players would necessarily be interested in this rumor. It doesn't really fit any of their personalities, any of the characters' personalities, not the players. So, don't think I'm going to be using that one, but I will keep that in mind. An Inspector might be an interesting character to introduce at some point. Let's see, this one. Last night the God of Grellshaker was shaken by a battle between Athanok the Hull and Skelkalin the Demon. Lady Athena Kinclaith died in the fallout. Ooh, that's a pretty good rumor. That's interesting. I'm not sure what the score is, though. That there's remains of some of these things. Certainly one of the players he took a trauma involving a hull, so he's become obsessed with hulls. So that player might be interested purely out of that. The aftermath of the battle, or the fallout of the battle, might be of interest. But it's not like they're going to go there to investigate the death of Lady Athena Kinclaith necessarily. They are criminals, not policemen, after all. Remember Dalmor and a group of renegade Inkrakes have a cunning plan. I kind of want to bring the Inkrakes in it, call it writer bias. They are a group in Duskvol of, let's call them crazy poets, who consider themselves a bit cooler than they are. Have a cunning plan to take the docks using a songwriter, a slaver, and a shipwright. Well, that's interesting. Also, that directly affects the players because the docks is where their lair is hidden. The Spirit Wardens will consider allying with anyone who destroys members of the Grinders. Well, that certainly would be tempting, making an ally out of a Spirit Warden, or multiple Spirit Wardens. I kind of want to do something like that, because the players have been doing a lot of find the magic item and take it missions. And I'm a little worried that that will become stale, and these weird artifacts will become a little less weird if they become so normal. So I kind of like the idea of them finding an ally. The question is, should it be the Spirit Wardens? I kind of like... should it be the Spirit Warden? I kind of like the idea that the Spirit Wardens might chase down the players at some point. I don't necessarily want to remove that challenge overmuch. They have a pretty good relationship with the Spirit Wardens already, I think. Let's see. I'm going to check their crew sheet here. Where's their... Where are their friends? Oh, that's the faction sheet that I need. Here we go. The faction sheet. The Underworld Institutions. Spirit Wardens. The Spirit Wardens are at a 0. So they've managed to make that a 0 somehow. Over time. I kind of want to leave it at that. They've also staved off war with the Dimmer Sisters. Which is interesting. I've kind of lost interest in the Dimmer Sisters as a faction as the game has gone on. They're a bunch of weird sisters. Not literally sisters, though. They are kind of a cult who used to be in direct competition with the group over the control of weird artifact trade in the city of Doskvol. But that's changed a bit. Who are the Grinders? They don't have any notes on anybody. I think I'm going to have to think about that a little more. Alright, so I'm not sure what the reward will be just yet. But I am liking the idea of Old Northport hides the remains. Now, Old Northport, that's an interesting location. Old Northport. That is over here, outside the lightning barrier that protects the city of Doskvol. Before the deluge of the 2nd century, the Dosk River Delta was only a shallow bog surrounding a coal mining settlement. Ships used the Old Northport to dock and resupply before crossing the open sea to Scotland. The obsolete port was abandoned to the Deathlands when the 2nd lightning barrier was built. Oh yes, a dramatic setting, and one that is going to give, I think, the characters lots of opportunities to experience a little bit more of the world. So we are definitely going to start off this rumor with Old Northport hides the remains of Adric the Hunter. And I'll keep the word and, because there's going to be an and. Let me see here. So, number 17. And now, here's where I... let's see. Well, let's paste that before I forget it. Alright, now, who tells them this rumor? That's one of the things that kind of hit me in a flash when I started writing these rumors, is that you always overhear a rumor from somebody. It could be a random passerby in the street. But it's often more interesting when the source is someone significant. Now, let's see. Something to do with Old Northport and it being the old pathway to Scotland. Well, the current mission has a lot to do with Ogre. So Ogre, while he might have a connection to Old Northport, isn't so interesting as a possible person who has heard a rumor. Let's bring Blend up. Who are Blend's friends? Clever friends. Stasia, an apothecary, and Vildren, a psychonaut. Maybe another character could come into it. Jewel, a blood dealer. We've had a lot of Stasia. We haven't had anything of Vildren. Yes. I think bringing one of Blend's enemies into this might be interesting. So, Vildren. Now, Psychonaut. What is a psychonaut? I think I know what a psychonaut is. I think in Duskville... Let's see. Lucid dreaming. Affected by substances. So Veldrin's a druggie. One Veldrin, while exploring the strange corners of his drugged mind, babbled something about how Old Northport hides the remains of, I need to not have a double space there, of Adric the Hunter, and what? Secret cache of information. The remains of Adric the Hunter, and something to do with the battle between Athanok the Hull. That's so cool. Battle between a Hull and a demon. Not sure how that fits in with this, though. That's a problem. Let's see what the random generators have to say. What is the reward? That could be the setting for the reward, but that's not going to be the reward itself. Something that possibly could make an ally out of a faction. I don't want it to be the Unseen, although the party has been working on the Unseen as an ally. The Unseen being the kind of mafia-esque, but weirder group in this setting. Let's see what the random generators have to say this evening. Scores. The courier wants somebody to make a delivery to the occult collector. Okay. Interesting. Much of the light of the Deathlands scavengers. Ooh. And the dismay of the grinders. The fact that the job requires a visit to the Deathlands is also going to complicate things. Interesting. Contained in this whole mess is Jewel, Bird, and Shine. I think that's a store in Duskville. Catcrawl Alley, the docks, Vice Purveyor, headlines, a corrupt magistrate seeking secret passage out of the city ahead of charges. Oh, something about a corrupt magistrate is interesting. Or a corrupt official body. I think there's meat on the bone there. Let's see. How about Adric the Hunter and the evidence he was gathering about a corrupt spirit warden. Somehow, according to the babble, according to his disjointed words and phrases, according to Veldrin's disjointed words and phrases, according to Veldrin's disjointed words and phrases, somehow, a terrible battle between a hull and a demon was mixed up in all of this. A hull and a demon. possibly interesting characters, and that will certainly tempt the players, I think. Alright, so that's the rumor. I'd love to have worked the Deathlands scavengers into it again. The campaign actually began with some Deathlands scavengers, and I always thought they were an interesting group. Somewhat more sympathetic than a lot of the groups in this game. So I could... Well, that's going... a battle between a hull and a demon. That's just cool. Some Deathlands scavengers may know more. Is that too long of a rumor? It's about as long as this one. I think that's okay. It's an interesting rumor. I don't think there's too much fat on it. Sounds good. So that's number 17. I have now created a rumor. Ah, Kenny! Welcome! Welcome back, Kenny. You're asking what a hull is. In the world of Blades in the Dark, in the city of Duskfall, a hull is a mechanical monstrosity. A machine, a clockwork man, or clockwork being. Doesn't have to be a man. A clockwork being with a ghost imbued within it that powers it as well as gives it will. So a hull is a walking automaton with a spirit trapped inside. The players encountered a number of them in their last score. I grabbed this off of the I think the D&D wiki. Wonderful images. All right. So a hull is a very powerful being, and I think imagining the battle between a hull and a demon is a cool mental image. Taladar, it is literally a ghost in a machine, yes. Hulls are very cool, I think. Not just robots, but something more. The players have a mechanical heart that they picked up at the party. I think that was mentioned in the stream. You can go back and watch the video on my YouTube channel if you're interested. Where they got a hold of a mechanical heart that would let them command a hull that was at the party. Or if not command, at least have some measure of control over it. So they've definitely encountered hulls before and are intimidated by them a little bit, I think, which is cool. So you know that you're doing well when you evoke a strong response in your players. Oh, I just noticed that I was like, why am I way off to the side? It's because my camera's way off to the side. Hello. Now I'm looking at you straight on instead of over at an angle. Kenny, well, at least if demons in this setting want to utilize souls in some way, it gives them a very simple reason for coming into conflict. Demons want a lot of weird things in this setting. Souls might be one of them. I have some cool voice mods for doing the demons in Blades in the Dark, and I'm excited to use them always. But I think something to do with that. Alright, so we have our rumor, and I think it's a good rumor. Veldrin, while exploring the strange corners of his drugged mind, babbled something about how Old North Port hides the remains of Adric the Hunter and the evidence he was gathering about a corrupt spirit warden. And the spirit wardens, of course, are not easy to corrupt. According to Veldrin's disjointed words and phrases, A terrible battle between a hull and a demon was mixed up in all of this. Actually, instead of saying that, I'll say Adric perished in the fallout of a terrible battle between a hull and a demon. That's way better. Give a bit of story, even in this very short little rumor about town. Kenny, they might be able to drain hulls as a resource. I allowed the players to do it, so I don't know why I wouldn't let a demon. The player of Dredge, who is a whisper, has very good. Wow, he has 3 dots now. That's the maximum he can get without a special ability. A tune score, so he can affect ghosts, even the ghosts trapped within a hull. All right. Excellent. I think that's a good rumor. I'm going to give that to my players. Now, I mentioned... oh, hello, Grimslag. Thanks for coming. Now, I mentioned at the start of the stream that this is probably going to be a short one, but I'm going to move on now to my other campaign. So let's see here. I'm going to work on the Wildlands. And in this one, I was working on some lighting effects previously. But this evening, I'm going to work on an encounter. So, the party is in this sand dungeon. Kenny, would be interesting to find half the remains found upon the hull, the other half on the demon. It certainly would. If a bit disturbing. I kind of want them to be able to find Adric's bones and see if they do anything weird. Taladar, are these resources on Roll20 pay or free? It's a mixture. This map is from savingthrower.deviantart.com. Saving Thrower created this map. It's wonderful. I have purchased some of these, and some of them are free things on Roll20. Or come with a subscription. All right. So the party's about to turn this corner. They're going to find this elven sword and this bearded devil. Now let me check the challenge rating of a bearded devil. I think it is 3, which means this is going to be a very easy encounter. The party is, everyone's level 2, but there are 7 of them. And 7 versus 1 would be entirely too easy. Fortunately, I've already established that in this dungeon, it is possible for these monsters in circles to multiply. As was the case in this room, where we had some hellhounds do just that. Now, I'd like to keep the same rules, but I don't think I'm going to be doing that. The Hellhounds multiplied in that room by when players would touch this ghostly tree, a remnant of a weird ancient empire. What am I looking for? Bearded devils, yes. Horned devil, ice devil, chain devil, bearded devil. Here we go. Yes, challenge rating 3. It does have multi-attack. It gets a beard attack along with its glaive. Oh, having a glaive will make it an interesting kind of little moment with our barbarian, Bref, as he used to have a glaive, but no longer. Going to make this a drawing. I think this sword has warped slightly somehow. Let's see if we can fix that. There we go. That's better. Let me see here. The bearded devil. Magical darkness doesn't impede the devil's dark vision. Okay. Well, that is what I was hoping to read, because that will make an interesting effect in this room. Especially with all of the lighting stuff I've been doing. I can artificially do fun stuff with the light in this room. So let's see. Darkness. I have saved some things, I know. Where are you? This is more like a cloud of darkness. I had a good circle. I know it's here. I know it's here. Was it called fog? Was it under that? No. Nope. Was it under shadow? Oh, that brings up all my Shadowrun stuff. I have the perfect cool thing for this, but I can't remember what it's called. Let's see. It might be one of these. That would be fun to throw down. Probably would kill the whole party, though. Black tentacles. Bleh. That's such a fun thing. And tell it. Oh, here we go. Yes, I knew it was here. All right. So, something like... that's dark on one side. Something like that. I think that is a nice effect. Grimslag. Okay, if you have a Shadowrun database for board gaming, let's try that one eventually. You mean for playing on here? I actually have a whole adventure in Shadowrun that I never got to use, that I developed in Roll20, that I have all set up and everything ready to go, and our Shadowrun game died right before we actually played it. I think the players got tired of me killing them. Oops. There we go. Kenny. I have had monsters in areas where light and darkness can change everything. In a darkness so great, they can hear terrible growling. They cannot truly light the way. Yes. I have used that too. I came up with abyssal darkness so that the players couldn't see through it in a high-level game long ago. That was fun. So I think that part of the trap in this room is going to inflict darkness. Okay. I probably won't remember that's there later, so let me make a note to myself. Now, what else is going on in this room? Well, we have the bearded devil. Oh, I wonder if the issue... I keep tapping my light here. I wonder if the issue with the characters has resolved itself. Probably not. It's probably just going to never work on this page for whatever reason. That's what I thought. And for some reason, Bella can see. I'm going to have to figure that out eventually. Alright. So, we have the bearded devil. We have a magic circle holding the bearded devil in. These are new players, so I don't want to throw something at them that they're totally unprepared for. I want them to be able to see something before they run into it. Kenny has some more suggestions. Kenny says, only attended lights work at all, and they don't see outside of their square. Lights get them attacked, but the dog always escapes after it attacks. If they never light the room, there are traps on the floor that can hurt or impede them. If they take 5-foot steps with their light, outside of being attacked by the dog, they can traverse the room without stepping on the traps. Interesting. Getting your players to walk around cautiously. That is an interesting strategy. I kind of want to let them meet the bearded devil in combat. And I think darkness will be a dramatic way to do that. And of course, the darkness won't necessarily fill the room. So there will be corners and places where they can go to see if they need to. Kenny suggests if they remain in darkness, the dog never attacks them. So they will either stay in darkness and scare them every round with this dog nearby. The sounds of the dog nearby. That's interesting. I kind of like the idea, Kenny, of a dog in that scenario because, or some kind of wolfish beast that has scent, because it can find that's how it gets around the darkness. This devil, of course, has been set up in this room, and with its devil's sight, it can see through. It also has magic resistance. Advantage on saving throws against spells and other magic effects. That's one of the things that I don't love about 5th edition, is they got rid of spell resistance. Spell resistance was a really interesting mechanic where, in previous editions, where certain creatures that were resistant to spells, you'd have to make a roll to kind of make an attack against them and to beat their spell resistance to have the spell affect them. That has disappeared in 5th edition in favor of magic resistance, which just gives the creature advantage on its saving throw. It's much simpler, certainly, but I think that the game loses something. Because spell resistance was interesting and cool. It was a way to get spellcasters rolling dice. And it was in the player's control. That was one of the great things about the design of spell resistance. It was in the player's control that they could overcome it. Whereas magic resistance in 5th edition, I'm not such a huge fan. But I might be convinced. But I don't like that it's all on the GM's side, and the players don't get to experience how something cool. Steadfast. The devil can't be frightened while it can see an allied creature within 30 feet of it. We're going to have to give this bearded devil some friends. Now, I think the players have encountered a lot of cursed items. I think this elven sword will not be cursed, but it will be trapped. I think this is going to be a trapped room, and it's quite obviously trapped. I'm not going to hide it from them. Hello, Karasthiana. Or they can, Kenny suggests, or they can have the beast attack them, but safely walk around the traps. One could try to sprint blindly through, but it tends to have its own problems. Yes, I think I might use something like that, Kenny, in a long hallway full of traps. Actually, in this very dungeon, I have something like that over here. This area, which hopefully you can see. But there's like a series of chambers ending in this giant gem. Which is part of the puzzle that is in this dungeon. That's going to encourage the players to explore the whole dungeon. Sprinting blindly through this area might be unfortunate, and putting a trap in each room seems like a good idea. Thanks for that, Kenny. I am actually going to go ahead and go to my GM info overlay, and I am going to increase my traps. I'm only going to worry about the cross of the T. Some of these traps may fill the whole room and not be only in that square, though. That'll make a good running the gauntlet challenge. Karaslina says, your game sounds terrifying, Kenny. Kenny says, oh, I plan and prep a lot, write as a hobby. Very used to come in with things as both a GM and a player to overcome challenges. Mundane workarounds you love, which returns to small details of which the devil rests their head. Indeed. I like mundane workarounds too. I'm just not sure that this group of players is experienced enough to really handle something that extreme. But that's a really cool encounter, Kenny. Alright, so I have this sword. The sword has a trap laid upon it. Of course. But I think that while the players will guess that, they won't necessarily guess that there might be other traps around as well. And this is where darkness of the traps might come in, as Kenny suggested. Kenny says, for D20 I'm making my own entire rules rehaul, setting, everything. Over 3,000 pages and a secondary project over 1,300 pages. If I find something that interests me, I'll write about it that's stored away on my external until needed. My goodness, Kenny. That's quite a project. I tend to create enough so that I can have fun during the session and leave myself enough breathing room to change things on the fly without consulting 3,000 pages of notes. But that is really impressive. I bet your world is very rich and detailed. That sounds awesome. All right. So, these traps are going to bring out more Hamatulas, or bearded devils. Those Hamatulas or Hamatulas something else? I'm not sure. Yes. Summoning more of these will be fun. And of course, the more the merrier because of the bearded devils' abilities. They're going to flank because They're relatively intelligent. At least they have a certain amount of cunning. And they will give the players something to chew on. I am definitely going to be summoning them on the other side. Because I feel like they'll be very focused over here. And we'll need a reminder that everybody needs a bit of protection. Now I have set up this interesting plinth over here with this carving inside of it. I'm not sure if... some of the players have decided that this is an altar, which it may very well be. But I never said that. Kenny. I know a lot about useless stuff. For example, one can often determine the wealth of a household in medieval times by their lighting. If it's tallow, it reeks of death and used in poorer locations. Beeswax smells sweet and is often used in wealthier locations, churches, and places of interest. That's interesting. I never really thought about that, Kenny. I do try, when I'm describing a room, to touch on all the five senses, as well as, any other dimensions or senses that might come into it, like a sense of time, or a sense of space. But I never knew that about I never really thought about the smell of the lighting, pointing at the wealth of some residents. That's really cool. Kenny, all adventurers should wear both a normal whistle and a dog whistle. As a free action that you probably can't speak, you can blow into both. This should effectively blind any monster that uses sound to see. Also, it helps ruin echolocation and will cause creatures like bats to falter. Kenny, since you're using dogs currently, I would suggest that if players ever light a fire, the smoke sticks to their clothing and skin, and from then on, until they clean themselves, those creatures that's tracked by scent can always find them. Ooh. Honestly, if I was going to have them tracked by hounds, I'd probably make the hounds good enough at scent tracking that the smoke would only give them advantage. Alright. So, interacting with this thing will be interesting, because placing a liquid into that container, which, of course, it was probably meant for blood or something else weird. But water will work. When players have water skins and the like. So if they pour some liquid into that shape there, it's going to trigger something else. It's going to trigger something elsewhere in the dungeon. Or maybe this water. What should it trigger? I put it in there because I knew it would be interesting. But now that the players have come upon it, I need to decide exactly what it does. It might cause this pool to lead to another plane of existence. But that's what the general puzzle of the dungeon does already. I should probably delete this, so I don't forget to later. What could placing a liquid in there do? I think it's going to give them information. A magic mouth will open. A prayer will be uttered. And from within that prayer, they will be able to glean strange knowledge of the kingdom of Ebb. Alright, plinth/altar. Because it is now kind of becoming an altar, because that was suggested to me. Placing liquid in the sun-shaped depression will trigger a magic mouth that speaks of the kingdom of Ebb and the purpose of this dungeon. I was hoping that they would begin to get a sense of the theme of this dungeon, but I don't think that the players have really figured that out yet. Kenny suggests this can be used to bait/trick monsters, as well as very low-level spells can be used to mimic basic sense. One merely needs to lead the monsters to a point where they have the advantage. Yes, this dungeon, though, rather than there being a lot of very mobile monsters, it being a very old dungeon, and one filled with traps, I am more going for the players come into the room and interact with the room feeling. I don't necessarily want them to be forced to rush things, because they're still learning. And not only are they still learning, but I don't know that it will fit this game. It will fit with them to interact with that. I wonder if I just fixed it. Nope. All right. Kenny suggests there are objects in the pool that can be touched but not seen while the water remains, as they are completely translucent. I would make a small puzzle where they can traverse a maze with walls they cannot see, but only if you lower the water do you have air holes while you move along it. That's a really cool idea, Kenny. I may use that when they adventure to a water dungeon that I am going to definitely have in this game. Another map by Saving Thrower on DeviantArt. Alright. Well, I think this encounter is looking pretty good. Now, what is this elven sword going to do? The traps are going to trigger darkness and multiplication of the bearded devils. Summon more bearded devils. The sword. The sword might help them kill the bearded devils. It resists... Oh, they have a lot of resistances. Cold, bludgeoning, piercing, slashing from non-magical attacks not made with silvered weapons. This is going to be a very difficult fight. I may not want to have too many of these things come out, but I think grabbing the elven sword will give them a lot of help. So the elven sword is going to be silvered, because that will bypass the bearded devil's resistances. And what else will it do? It's going to do something else interesting. Elven sword. Silvered. Very effective against the bearded devils. Now, most likely, the players will not cotton on to that, The sword being so useful against spirited devils because they're going to touch it and it's going to trigger a trap. But who knows? Kenny, so many ideas. Or it might allow for traversing down one side as a grate can be reached, removed, and passed in a small tunnel, entering into whatever else may be down there. I would like to. You would like to be the designer of the original Undermountain. A think tank on games and stories would be in my element. Well, I'm a writer at City State Entertainment and board game designer there, and I enjoy it very much. So I hope you get to do that as well. Spelling, grammar, and punctuation may not be great, but hey, a bunch of possibilities or ways to do things. Cool. Maybe placing a liquid upon here will teleport the players. I think that's an interesting idea. Perhaps it teleports them. But how far away? To another part of the dungeon? I think I know what's going to be in this room now. Because I think it'll be interesting if they encounter this monster. Let's see. And it'll be more interesting if they can't get back. I love these things. Let's try that. Oh, that's good. I think that this mouth will successfully imply perhaps the mouth and the discarded shield will help to imply that one should not try and go back in. Because that will not work out very well for them. What's going to happen is if the players interact with this altar, it will teleport them over to this other part of the dungeon, and they're going to pop out. They're going to emerge from this mouth. It's going to spit them out. And there will be a shield that looks like it's been bitten. Evidence of someone who tried to climb back into the mouth. Maybe another body. No, just bloodstains. Always good. Gotta have my bloodstains. That should be nasty enough. And then they will have to get past this necrotic snake monster, Bone Naga. May not be full-strength Bone Naga. And of course, interacting with the altar. Interacting with the altar should give some benefit as well. Perhaps it will remove the traps. I'll make a note of that to myself. Removes... Oh, but it can't be black text or I won't show up. Let's see here. Removes traps. Also teleports. Grimslag, I'm gonna just climb into this steel-jawed mouth. Coming to that decision should require many beers. I agree. Alright. Cool. So there's a cool encounter here if the players decide to go that route. I think the environmental effect of darkness will be plenty cool. Actually, you know what? I should make them small pockets of darkness. And not just blankets the whole room. That will give them some interesting terrain to play with. It'll make pockets of darkness throughout the room, and it will summon more bearded devils and release this one from its runic prison. And then, of course, there's also more strange dangers and rewards to be found in this scroll room. Where there's a sleeping man who will not wake. That should be good. All right. Well, I created a rumor for my my Blades in the Dark campaign, and I worked out a pretty cool encounter. I think. Actually, you know what would be better? Is if I made more traps. But these traps don't summon more bearded devils. They just do the darkness. That way... Oh, what if it was in each square? Yeah, that's a good idea. That way the players will have the chance to learn. It's very important that you give players the chance to learn a system before you spring it on them. So these traps will summon darkness. And if the players go running around willy-nilly, of course I don't think they'll do that. But if they do, I guess this is half a square, good enough. If they do, they're going to fill the room with darkness and make the encounter a whole lot harder. The urine of a powerful predator. That's a cool idea, Kenny. Grimslag. Suggests if your gaming party kills an alpha-type animal monster to harvest or remove its groin scent glands. That way, when facing tracking dogs, whatever, just squeeze them out and scare the living hell out of the enemy's tracking animals. That's a cool suggestion, Grimslag. Yeah, I would certainly allow that to work if a player wanted to try it. Alright, now this is a pretty cool encounter. I'm pretty pleased with that. This next room feels still pretty empty, but maybe it'll be weirder that way. And then, of course, there's the nastiest of all monsters in this room. Oh, yes. I'm doing it. That's a rust monster. Been handing out lots of treasure in this campaign, so I think they will survive that. Alright, cool. Very cool. Alright. So that's that. I made an encounter. I thought about a trapped series of rooms in the dungeon. I thought about the dungeon puzzle and developed that a little bit. And I think I'm done for tonight. So, oh, Dragon, you're an adventure item. Totally. Actually, there's a weird alchemist already in this game. Back in the town they came from, Toreen, that might have something like that on hand. I should add that in. That's a really cool idea, Kenny. And Grimslag. So, yes, I made a rumor for one campaign. I made an encounter and worked on the map of the other. I think I'm done for the evening. Good night, folks. I'll be back again tomorrow night, as I am streaming every night this week. And just to see how it goes. Maybe I'll keep doing it, maybe not. But I'm planning to be on again tomorrow night at around 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And I'll be doing some last prep before streaming the games on Saturday night and Sunday night. So, until then, thanks a lot for joining me. Bye-bye. And good evening. And you're welcome, Grimslag. Bye, folks.